Social learning theory. People develop motivation to commit crime and the skills to commit crime through the people they associate with social learning theory, a theory of learning and social behavior, which proposes that new behaviors can be acquired by observing and imitating others. It states that learning is a cognitive process that takes place in a social context and can occur purely through observation or direct instruction. Even the absence of motor reproduction or direct reinforcement, in addition to the observation of behavior, learning also occurs through the observations of rewards and punishments, a process known as vicarious reinforcement. When a particular behavior is rewarded regularly, it will most likely persist. Conversely, if a particular behavior is constantly punished, it will most likely desist. The theory expands on traditional behavior theories in which behavior is governed slowly by reinforcement, by placing emphasis on important rules of various internal processes in the learning individual. Social control theory. Most people would commit crime if not for the controls society places on individuals through institutions such as schools, workplaces, churches, and families. Theorists believe it is society's responsibility to maintain a certain degree of stability and certainly in an individual's life to make the rules and responsibilities clear, to create other activities that are criminal activity. Drawing on the tenets of routine activity theory, social control theory is especially important when analyzing crime in impoverished areas. The effect of poverty on the likelihood of crime is no secret, nor it is a new phenomenon. When there is not enough food to eat, or children are left alone at home while their parents work a second job, the seeds for crime have been planted. Under this theory, it is society's obligation to prevent crime from happening. Various methods to provide children with social activities when their parents are unable to are very important in low-income neighborhoods. Giving children an alternative to a life of crime is necessary under this theory of criminology. Bandora's social learning theory. It states that people learn from one another via observation, imitation, and modeling. The theory has been called a bridge between behaviorist and cognitive learning theories because it encompasses attention, memory, and motivation. People learn through observing others' behavior, attitudes, and outcomes of those behaviors. Most human behavior is learned observationally through modeling. From observing others, one forms an idea of how new behaviors are performed, and on later occasions, this coded information serves as a guide for action. According to Pandora, social learning explains human behavior in terms of continuous reciprocal interaction between cognitive behavioral and environmental influences. Reciprocal determinism. Pandora believed in reciprocal determinism, that is the world and a person's behavior cause each other, while behaviorism essentially states that one's environment causes one's behavior. Pandora, who was studying adolescent aggression, found this too simply, and so in addition, he suggests that behavior causes environment as well. Pandora considered also personality as an interaction between three components: the environment, behavior, and one's psychological process. One's ability to entertain images in minds and language. Social learning theory has sometimes been called between behaviorist and cognitive learning theories because it encompasses attention, memory, and motivation. The theory is related to Vygotsky social development theory and Levi-situated learning, which emphasize the importance of social learning bridge. Individuals that are observed are called models. In society, children are surrounded by many influential models, such as parents within the family, characters on children's TV, friends within their peer group, and teachers at school. These models provide examples of behavior to observe and imitate, masculine and feminine, pro and antisocial, and etc. Children pay attention to some of these people and encoded their behavior. At a later time, they imitate the behavior they have observed. They may do this regardless of whether the behavior is gender appropriate or not. But there are a number of processes that it make more likely that a child will reproduce the behavior that is society deems appropriate for its gender. First, the child is more likely attend to and imitate those people it perceives as similar to itself. Consequently, it is more likely to imitate behavior modeled by people of the same gender. Second, the people around the child will respond to the behavior it imitates with either reinforcement or punishment. If a child imitates a model behavior and the consequences are rewarding, the child is likely to continue performing the behavior. A parent sees a little girl consoling her teddy bear and says, "What a kind of girl feeling about being approved of its internal reinforcement." A child will behave in a way which it believes will earn approval because it desires approval. Positive or negative reinforcement will have little impact if the reinforcement offered externally does not match with an individual's needs. Reinforcement can be positive or negative, but an important factor is that it will usually lead to a change in a person's behavior. Third, the child will also take into account of what happens other people when deciding whether or not to copy someone's actions. A person learns by observing the consequences of other persons' behavior. A younger sister observing an older sister being rewarded for a particular behavior is more likely to repeat that behavior herself. This is known as vicarious reinforcement. This relates to attachment to specific models that possess qualities seen as rewarding. Children will have a number of models whom they identify. These may be people in their immediate world, such as parents or older siblings, or could be fantasy characters or people in the media. The motivation to identify with a particular model is that they have a quality which the individual would like to possess. Identification occurs when another person and involves taking on observed behaviors, values, beliefs, and attitudes of person with whom they are identifying. Behaviors, values, beliefs, and attitudes of person with whom they are identifying. The term identification as used by social learning theory is similar to Freudian term related to the Oedipus complex. Example, they have both involved internalizing or adopting another person's behavior. However, during the Oedipus complex, the child can only identify with the same-sex parent, where with social learning theory, the person can be potentially identified with any other person. Number of behaviors being adopted, whereas imitation usually is different to imitation as it may involve a bridge between traditional learning theory and involves copying a single behavior. It is often described as the cognitive approach. This is because it focuses on how mental the factors are involved in learning.
Let's move to page 131 to 133, Theories and Crime. Vigorous reinforcement often leads to imitation. For example, a student who hears the praise a classmate for a neat penmanship on an assignment and who then carefully handwrites his or her own assignment. Vigorous reinforcement is right, two types, and positive or negative. This example is positive. Uh, Murag iya gidayeg ba? Iya gidayeg ang iyang classmate kay Lindot ug Agi nga na. Okay. This relates to attachment to specific models that possesses qualities seen as rewarding. Children will have a number of models. Okay. Um, whom they identify. Um, ang makuha sa bata ug unsay nasa ila palibot, batasan or kinaiya, depende sa parents or siblings or pwede fantasy character and people in the media that motivate the children to identify with particular model is that they have a quality which the individual would like to possess. Identification occurs with another and involves taking on, adapting or observe behaviors, values, beliefs, and attitudes of the person with whom you are identifying. Just like discovery or pointing out, proof identity, or murag searching or just like that. Okay. Identification is different to imitation. It is may involve a number of behaviors being adapted, whereas imitation is usually involves copying a single behavior. SLT or social learning theory is often described as the bridge between traditional learning theory, behaviorism, and the cognitive approach. Social learning theory is to show that an individual can learn multiple ways, but mainly the environment in which a person finds themselves influences the way they behave and learn. According to methodology, social learning theory is that social behavior is learned by observing and imitating the behavior of others. Unlike Skinner, Bandura, 1977, believes that human are active information processor and think about the relationship between their behavior and its consequences. There are four meditational processes proposed by Bandura. First is attention. Attention is therefore extremely important in whether a behavior has an influence in others, imitating it or order to learn. Attention is impact by characteristic of the observer. This prestige of different models affects the relevance and function of value of observation and therefore modulates attention. Attention is having a you need to get an attention of others para matagad ka na. Number two is retention. How will the behavior is remembered? The behavior may be noticed. It is important, therefore, that a memory of behavior is formed to be performed later by the observer. Retention is in order to reproduce an observed behavior must be able to remember features of the behavior again. This process is influenced by the observer characteristics, cognitive capabilities, cognitive rehearsal. Number three, reproduction. Reproduction is to perform the behaviors that the model has just demonstrated. This influences our decisions whether to try and imitate it or not. Imagine the scenario of a 90-year-old lady who struggled to walk with walking, dancing on ice. She may be appreciate that skill is desirable, but she will not attempt it to imitate it because she physically cannot do it. Maglisod na siya baktas or walking or dancing kay edad-edara naman siya. dili na kaya sa iyang lawas basin maansa pa unsa pa mahitabo sa iya. Okay. Reproduction can be difficult to observe behavior well. This can be require the input of others to provide self-correcting feedback. The reproduction have motivation. Motivation, the will to perform the behavior, rewards, and punishment that follow a behavior will be considered by the observer. Bandora's description of motivation is also fundamentally based on environmental and the social factors. Since motivational factors are driven by the functional value of the different behaviors in given environment.
Good day, classmates and sir. I'm Wenelin Pilapel, and I'm the assigned reporter of the part of routine activities theory. So, routine activities theory, it believes that crime is inevitable and that if the target is attractive enough, crime will happen. Effective measure must be in place to deter crime from happening. So, routine theory is a subfield of crime opportunity theory that focuses on situation of crime. It has been developed by Marcus Felson and Lawrence Cohen. The premises of routine activities theory is that crime relatively unaffected by social causes such inequality, poverty, and employment. According to Felson and Cohen, the reason for increasing is that the prosperity is contemporary. So, routine theory, activity theory is the controversial among sociologists who believe in the social causes of crime, but several types of crime are very well explained by routine activity theory. For instance, copyright and fingerprint related to sharing employee and corporate crime. Suitable targets can be a person or object that one seen by offender as vulnerable or particularly attractive. The factor that render a particular target attractive are situation and crime specific. So this routine activity theory is based on the assumption that crime can be committed by anyone that has opportunity. It also states that victim is given choice on whether to be victims mainly by not placing themselves in situation where a crime can be committed against them. Also states that in order for a crime to be committed, three specific criteria must be involved. This theory attempts to show that crime rates are not generally affected by macro changes such as economic recessions and employment rates. While researching crime rates after World War II, it was discovered that even though America was economically prospering compared to the pre-war depressions, so crime rates were still high and showed no sign of decreasing. The general lifestyle of an individual plays an important part in the definitions of routine activities theory. So that's all.
Routine activity theory, first formulated by Lawrence A. Cohen and Marcus Felson, and later developed by Felson, is one of the most widely cited and influential theoretical constructs in the field of criminology ang routine activity theories, and in crime science more broadly, in contrast to the theories of criminality, so which are centered on the figure of the criminal and the psychological, biological, or social factors that motivated the criminal act. So, theories of criminality is centered on the figure of a criminal. And the psychological, biological, and social factors, sila mo yung nag-motivate the criminal act. The focus of routine activity is to study of crime as an event. So, ang gistudyhan lang sa routine activity is nag-study siya sa crime sa panghitabo lang sa crime, highlighting its relation to space and time and emphasizing its ecological nature. So, so the goal of offender is to committing crimes against settable targets in the absence of capable guardians. So there are two apparently simple ideas with significant implications. First, that opportunity for crime maybe depends on configuration of these things. So, kini siya is nakadepende siya sa aggressor or a criminal. So, nakadepende siya sa iyang pag-commit og crime is nakadepende siya sa usa ka kriminal. Second is a correlate of the first, that absence of either of the first two elements or aggressor and targets. So aggressor is the criminals and the target among iyahang hatan yang kumitan og crimes. Or the presence of the third capable guardian. So muna siyang mga hint base sa usa ka criminal. So would be sufficient in itself to prevent a potential criminal event. So to prevent a potential criminal events, mo to siya ang duha ka simple ideas that significant applications. So routine activity theory or RAT is one of the most well-known theory which provides a straightforward explanations why crimes occurs. It can be used by criminal reductions or prevention practitioners to analyze crime problems. So ang routine activity theory is siya ray theory nga provides straightforward explanation mo direct nga paghatag og info. Argues that when a crime occurs, there are three things happen at same time and in same space. So first is the settable target is available. Third, there is the lack of settable guardian to prevent the crimes from happening. So nung wa kayo bantay, so mo na siya hint sa usa ka kriminal. Third is a likely unmotivated offender is present. So acceptable targets, the first condition for crime is that a settable target must be available. The word target has been chosen carefully rather than words such as a victim. So there are three major categories of target. First is a person. Is a being such as human that has certain capacities or attributes such as reason, morality, consciousness, or self-consciousness, and being a part of a culturally established form of social relations such as kinships, ownerships of property, or responsibility. Second is the object. Object is anything that is visible or tangible and it's relatively stable in form, something materials that may be prevented by the senses. Third is place. So, place is ang area nga gihitabuan sa crime. And the absence of capable guardian. The first condition for crime is that there must be a settable targets present. The second condition is that a capable guardian whose presence would discourage a crime from taking place must be absent. The capable guardian is anything, either a person or thing, that discourages crime from taking place. This can be formal or informal. So some examples of capable guardian is police patrol. Patrol officers are law enforcement officers assigned to monitor specified geographic areas that is to move through their areas at regular intervals, looking out for any signs of problem of any kind problem.
Edric J. or he, BSCRIM 2, Section B. What is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is a theory of morality that advocates action that fosters happiness or pleasure and oppose action that cause unhappiness or harm. When directed towards making social, economic, or political decisions, a utilitarian philosophy would aim for the betterment of a society as a whole. Utilitarianism would say that an action is right if it results in the happiness of the greater number of the people in a society or a group. A society guard, also known as security inspector, security officer, or protective agent, is a person employed by a government or private party to protect employing parties' assets from a variety of hazards, damage property, unsafe worker behavior, etc. by enforcing preventative measures. Neighborhood Watch Group is also called Crime Watch, an organized group of civilians devoted to crime and vandalism prevention with neighborhood. There are aims of neighborhood such as door staff, lock fences, lighting, alarm system, vigilance staff, and etc. Some of guardians are formal and deliberate, like security guards. Some are informal and adverted but ineffective. For example, is CCTV camera. It's not a capable guardian if it is sighted wrongly. Likely offenders. When a suitable target is unprotected by a capable guardian, there is a chance that a crime will take place. The final element in this picture is that a likely offender has to be presented. Likely offenders have many different reasons for committing offenses. The list of possible reasons why people commit offenses: gain or need, poverty, to feed, a drug habit, or grade. Society experience, environment. Living in a culture where crime is acceptable because of a peer pressure, mental illness, envy, poor housing, mental illness, and lastly, lack of education. Belief. A belief that crime in general or particular crimes aren't wrong, as a protest on a matter of principle. Prejudice against certain monitoring or ethics group. Thank you.
Good day, sir. I'm Ryan Sumalinog, BSCRIM 2, Section B, and my report is all about differential association theory. Differential association theory is a theory in crime. Differential association theory suggests that individuals who commit deviant acts are influenced to do so by primary groups and intimate social contacts. An overview of differential association theory of deviance is provided, beginning with the general review of the theory, followed by a brief explanation of a specific assumption of differential association theory. Differential association theory is one of many sociological theories that aims to explain why people commit deviant acts. Differential association theory was proposed and developed by Edwin Sutherland in the late 1930s and early 1940s in response to a critique of criminology by Michael and Adler. Differential association theory stresses the impacts that others have on one's view of deviant behavior and the law. The theory relies on the social context of individuals to explain individual behavior through the same mechanisms that they learn other behavior through exposure to primarily and intimate social contacts. However, he noted that mere exposure to deviant people does not necessarily result in one behaving criminal manner. Rather, he suggests that the mechanism involved in whether or not deviant behavior or commit acts take place, and more complex differential association theory asserts that as one has more definitions favorable to the legal system over definitions unfavorable to the legal system, one is likely to be delinquent. Differential association theory is based on the social environment and its surroundings, individuals, and the values those individuals gain from significant others in their social environment. It suggests that those people are learned through communication with intimate people groups from whom the person learns to the techniques, motivation, rationalizations, and attitudes. Similarly, it does not suggest that any person who is around criminals necessarily becomes a criminal, rather have a greater ratio of unfavorable to favorable definition of deviant behavior are more likely to deviate.
Differential association theory lives from for criminals to change their ways to become conforming people. And that's all. Thank you.
In every particular crime, behaviors will become a criminal. But according to the theory, the primary and immediately social group would include biological parents, adopted parents, step parents, and ex-step parents. It should do and also include siblings such as cousins, auntie, uncle, and or other relatives. A person other than family are also considered immediate or loved ones, necessary to commit the crimes, and the reason of realization and attitude involved with committing such as criminal act. But the report incidents of parents overly teaching their child to steal or selling drugs or commit other criminal act, while the instance to serve to enforce the way one to learn of necessary to commit a criminal act. The reason and realization and attitude not be necessary done and the correctly way. Taking the example of a drugs dealing parents of a young adolescent. If the parents is selling drugs to someone, there are maybe a routine of parents to follow in drug purchase, arrest and giving criminal act. To investigate parents such an purchase of a father lead guest in the bedroom. The numbers of household is a father's guest tend and the purchase of most the time guest. A child may be also observed that father does not do it all of a child. Parents of adolescent should learn how to criminal drugs dealer. Ilang silbi mo ilang gitudloan ang ilang anak na mo sa nilang buhaton because or mo sa mabuhat sa ilang anak kay tungod mo sa ilang nakita sa ilang ginikanan. So is ilang makuha nga way para makakumit sila og crime because sa ilang parents or mother and father nga mao na lang gibuhat. So there's Edward H. Hustonland is also a sociological and professor. The theory based upon the idea of criminal commit a crimes based upon the association with other people. Basically, criminals' behavior is led by associating with other criminal individuals. In additional, criminals can exist of any income, race, and sociological background. Tersland states the 9 basic tenets of the different association theories. 1. Criminal behavior is the leader of criminal behavior is a learned behavior. 2. Criminal behavior is learned by interacting with other people by committing with the words and seizure. 3. The main portion of learning the criminal behavior happened among small people of group. Learning about criminals including and learning the techniques of committing a crime as well as learning the motivation as attitude towards a crime. Illegal codes that it's good or bad proven motivation of crime. In other words, the law expressed that the right of or wrong is to an offender. A person become a criminal because of fraudulent criminals. Patient example: if one of the exposure of repeated criminals, this scenario will be vulgate rob of other nearby. So, the differentiation of association theory can be default in declaration, property, and entity. The learning of criminal behavior by association of a similar to all other types of learning. Criminals and last, criminals and non-criminals behavior is the expression of the same and needs of value. In other words, it's that not discriminate by any person of any background can become a criminal. Containment theory. Social control theories impose the criminal and the legacy occurred among the members in society in an individual behaviors. Recent control theory have embracing that important of high self-control and strong bond of society and determine criminal behavior. However, one of the original theories of self-control has been largely ignored among the developed the individual theories by Walter Nicholas in 1960. Containing theory suggests the individual engaged the delicacy while pulling draw individual away from accepting from criminal behaviors. The theory states that punishable that inner or outer containance. The inner containance includes self-concept, goals, orientation, flirtation, tolerance, and moral community commitment and returnation. The elements within the individuals itself. The outer's containance includes in social environment such individuals sides and request socialization with them. The committing or elements that outside or only self. Factors that push and pull individual into crime: exposure or pressure, constant or advised living condition. The group such as opportunity that conflict and mentality groups status lack of opportunity. that was Nicolaites, and in 1964. That's all. Thank you.